What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jack Ramsays post-game. Blazers lose in more spectacular fashion than probably people anticipated. 132-112 to Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks put 7 players in double figures. Nobody really got loose from a monster night perspective. Luka did have a 15-15-10 triple-double, which decent.
Stat padding. Come on. He shouldn't have been playing.
He should not have played
in there to get a rebound.
He did stay in there. Ant KB says, so much for Norm's minutes restriction. It's weird how about on a back-to-back night for a minutes restriction, all of a sudden ends up playing 36 minutes. So, yeah, if you caught what you're picking up when I was putting down there before, that it's kind of what makes sense. But again, welcome in. Thank you all. Appreciate you very, very much. Danny Moran, Brandon Sprague. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Do all of the things. If you were new here, welcome. If you were returning, also welcome. If you can do us all a favor, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. It helps us grow. We're on our way to 2,500 subscribers. We are less than 100 away. That is all because of you guys. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to all of you who hopped onto the parlay tonight, you're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome. If you want, you can take that and spend $2.99 and become a member.
Or just give us all the money. I mean, whatever works for you.
I'm not greedy.
You know what I mean?
Sprague's greedy, okay? So... but I'm joking. Keep your money, please. It was a fun gambling, fun betting night for the Portland Trailblazers. Not so much of a fun night in the fourth quarter. They got kind of run out of the gym and then not. If you look at the quarter-by-quarter breakdown, Brandon, the Mavericks scored 40, 28, 30, 34. Outside of that first quarter, it was okay, but it felt like the Blazers kept closing the gap, and what ended up happening was 7-point game, 4-point game, 6-point game. They opened it up and they just took care of business. And between the first time the Blazers and Mavericks played, when they didn't have Luka, and now, the Portland Trailblazers did not add anybody to the roster that could handle either Kristaps Porzingis or Luka Doncic, and it showed.
Or Brunson, or Green, or Powell, KP. I mean, you name it. Dallas is just a really bad matchup anyway. They're long, they're athletic, they can fill it up from 3 or 4 different spots. We talked about this in the pregame. This is about what we expected.
Yeah.
I'll give Portland a lot of credit. CJ Elleby, Ben McLemore had a few moments there.
Watford.
Very brief.
Watford. The bench guys, I thought, played amicably tonight.
And had a good night. Like, for the most part, they fought. And they cut it to, what's close? They got that 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, they did get it to 4 or 5. It was, what do you say? It was 81-76.
Yeah, and it was over after
and then
that.
It was 98-80. The
yeah.
next time we looked up and was like, oh, that game's over.
But, I mean, they fought hard. They didn't, just roll over and take another beating immediately. They pushed back. Dallas went up big early, and they were the fight back in it. So, I'm sure we'll get into a couple more things here, but for the most part, it's kind of what we expected. Not really surprising seeing the final outcome.
All right, Brandon. I'm going to do the I should make this a part of the show going forward on any loss.
Okay.
I'm going to run uno. You know what? Let me see if I can do this.
Okay.
Let me add a screen capture. Yes. Add source. Yes. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so everybody can see it who's watching right now. Yeah. All right. You can't see it, Brandon.
No.
But I will let everybody else. I have got Tankathon up. I will run one sim.
Okay. 9th.
The Blazers actually lost 2 spots.
Where are they at?
They went from 9th to 11th when I ran the sim.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you win 6 of 10. 10's not to help you.
Unfortunate night.
Well, look, we know that we can play the Tankathon game for the next 3 months. This team's only going to end up getting worse. So we can play the game again on a post game one night, and I'm sure it'll, come up Portland with the 6th or better pick.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I can make this a part of this. I can make this happen. Let's have a little bit of fun with it. The Blazers have lost back-to-back games to teams that are better than them, shockingly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think there's a little bit of fool's gold on that trip. in that Washington was a disaster. Boston doesn't know who they are. The Toronto game was okay, but I actually went back and looked at Toronto's schedule. They were gassed coming into that game. Now, it's still a win. Win's a win over a team that you probably should struggle against, but I thought that was a little bit less impressive when I went back and looked at it. I was like, okay. But 4-2 on a trip, you'll take that every time. They come home, reality kind of hits them in the face, 0-2 on a back-to-back. They're getting ready to go on a 4-game stretch we will talk about here after this. But just as a point of reference, the Blazers now 20-28. Let me go ahead and refresh the page so I can see the actual standings that are correct. Portland have the 9th worst record in the league right now. They are 11.5 games back of Orlando, but only 2.5 games back of 6th place, Sacramento.
Okay. And Sacramento's, by the way, not faring very well. Harrison Barnes.
Holy
wow.
shit. They lost by a combined 80-plus points over the last 2 nights?
Yeah. That's the situation needs to be blown up.
It's going to be interesting. Doug in my shoe says, do you have a sad trombone sound? You know what? I need to go back and add my sounds back because I blew everything out. Because I think I only have like the DJ air horn and some stuff that will immediately get me thrown off of YouTube or demonetized because it's Bruce Buffer.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
I do have the yipes sound. I will definitely get a sad trombone thrown on there. So, I'm not going to take away from anything that the Blazers already had happen to them with the 4-2 road trip. They did go 0-2 here at home, and the Minnesota game, while close and competitive, this was not, Brandon. And on every level tonight, the Mavericks just kind of housed them.
Well, I mean, again, Luka plays. That's a huge difference. They didn't with Cove out, with Nas out. Who were we expecting to defend him? Norm. That was an awful matchup.
Here's the thing that was interesting about this. I can't remember the last time I saw the playmaking concentrated between 2 players before. Luka had 15 assists. Jalen Brunson had 11.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were seeing 2 players on the same team have double-digit assists?
Probably LeBron and Kyrie in a finals game.
Like, legitimately.
It's been a minute.
It doesn't happen because those guys are primary ball handlers. They have a bunch of play enders. Like I said, the Mavs put 7 guys in double figures tonight. Finney Smith, 11. Maxey, 12. KP, 22. Brunson, 20. Luka, only 15 on 11 shots. 15 for Reggie Bullock. He got loose from the three-point line. Dwight Powell, I think, he had 15 points. He had missed 1 free throw. He was 5 of 5. I believe he was 8 of 8 when the Blazers played last time. I don't think he's missed a shot against the Blazers this year.
Yeah.
They continue to – I don't want this to turn into an anti-Nurkic thing because it's just an team construction for like what they were versus what they need to be. What was the thing that I complained about probably the most tonight during the watch party?
The lobs.
Verticality.
Yeah.
The Blazers do not have an answer for it on either end. Now, they ran one lob for Anfernee Simons, which, good on you. Let's see more of that action. They actually decoyed it. CJ gave the ball up to Ant. They loaded up to Ant. Ant gave it up, and they used a little bit of off ball action to find Ant for the lob. But other than that, not a vertical threat to be found. The Dallas Mavericks, Brandon, they have a lot of them. Kristaps Porzingis, I think he missed 2 lobs, maybe 3. Had a couple of little bunnies that he smoked. Dwight Powell finished. Maxey finished. Pretty much anything they threw up. If I go back and watch it, they probably threw 10 lobs, completed probably 7 of 10. If I'm going off the top of my head, it's just easy points. And if you have a playmaker, and you don't even have Luka, like Jalen threw some lobs too. And it is a problem for Portland because most teams have a vertical threat. The Blazers just don't have that on the roster.
Well, who was their last one? Like legitimately, that was in your like you could say DJ, but he wasn't in the rotation last year.
They didn't, and not only that, they didn't use him like that.
No.
LaMarcus was probably the last one. They used to run the rollout on the post up. Remember, he would throw the hand up and then spin out. That was probably the last time they had a consistent lob threat.
So what I'm noticing doing these conversations on pre and post game shows every game, Danny, what I notice about it is that these continue to be, it's another thing Neil never addressed. You know, it's another hole and a flaw in the roster building of what they are right now. So, you know, you bring this up, and I'm kind of sitting here like, I mean, it's Watford, it's Nurkic, it's a hope and a prayer, and they just, when you got already guys injured on what is a bad team, the odds are you're going to get worse, and you're talking about a major hole in that roster in terms of what they haven't had it since LA left. So Dallas, they did this last time they played. I think KP had 3 dunks, whatever it was. To see him get that many lobs again, especially in the second half, dear Lord.
And it wasn't like on any kind of like decoyed action. It was straight pick and roll. They were sending Nurk above the free throw line, trying to blitz Luka, who probably is the best pinpoint passer in the league. Like when you send 2 at him, and he was just like, "Oh, okay, cool,
easy money."
Just throwing it over the top, over and over and over and over again.
How coming in? Here you go.
That's the other thing is like you had Ant, you had Norm. Like those are the guys that are tagging in on the corner, literally giving up a foot to Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Eduardo says Greg Brown's still the best dunk. I agree. Greg Brown. Actually, no. Ant's lob dunk was the best finish.
I would throw that in there, though. Like, for what we're talking about, why would you not be playing Greg Brown? Why are you playing Tony Snell?
We did get first quarter Greg Brown minutes.
Yeah, but we didn't really get second and third. No. We got garbage time Greg Brown minutes. Again, if you're going to play him in the first, don't you think it better serves you to play him a little in the second, a little in the third, and a little in the fourth versus here you go?
Maybe if you're going to run a zone defense, you kind of let him not necessarily be a rim protector, but be an athlete who's like maybe competitive on a lob.
Let him be Ed Reed. Like, let him roam and try to make a play on a ball.
I mean, if you're going to send 2 at Luka and let him – here's the difference. Not to get, like, incredibly technical, but you do not want to consistently send 2 defenders at Luka Doncic when he can see you.
Right.
He's 6'7", 6'8". For anybody who didn't see this at the end of the game, Luka came up to Nurk and gave him a Balkan boy hug. Luka's not much smaller than Yusuf Nurkic. He's a massive dude with just hawk vision. And if he can see you coming, because there was a couple different times where I don't want to stand up and do it because it's hard for me to actually stand. But like where they were like trying to like motion behind the defender, like, hey, no, come up with me. Luka sees that and he's like, oh, you're coming up and you're lifting above the free throw line. You're bringing your entire defense up. Yep. So instead of having somebody below the free throw line to be able to tag, be able to help, you have Norm in one corner and another, and you're making them be the tag guys, and there's this massive amount of space that they have to cover.
Right.
Where you're letting one of the best passers in the entire league pick you apart because you're running the same basic coverage over and over again instead of mixing it up, instead of making Luka be a guy that he doesn't want to be some nights, which is the volume shooter. If you're letting a guy just sit there and carve you for 15 assists, he's going to do it. He's got that in his head.
What also doesn't help that you have certain players that play big minutes that don't give effort on defense, Danny. That's how you get caught in lob situations because you end up having to help step up. Guess what? Step up guys right wide open waiting for the one-handed lob.
Let's get into the good stuff first.
Okay.
Before we come back and drop a little bit of a hammer. Anfernee Simons, big-time bounce-back night. Big-time bounce-back night. Says all the right things. Understands that what he, the things he had to cover up for last night. The straight line drive from D'Lo. The rush shot at the at the buzzer. Just the defense coming at him. All the things he has to learn on the fly. He comes out tonight and he's down the pecking order behind CJ, behind Norm. Those guys jacked up shots, 16 for CJ, 17 for Norm.
Yep.
Ant finished with 14 at halftime. I believe he had four or five.
I think he had 5.
He had one more shot than Watford at halftime, whatever that was.
I thought he had 5.
Okay. Finishes with 14, which I want to see him getting basically 9 shots a half kind of a deal. 18 is kind of the number that I want him to get to. 4 of 7, 23.7 assists, 2 rebounds. I thought he had 2 turnovers tonight that were learning issues. He had the one where he the pick and roll kind of threw it to Yusuf Nurkic, where I was like, little too ambitious. But he also had a beautiful pass in the first quarter where he drew the
Yeah.
entire defense and found Tony Snell for a layup. All in all, great game from Ant. I thought that was just a nice bounce back, and these are the kind of things you look for Anfernee Simons, right? Like, we know kind of who he can be, what he can be, but even more than that, on those nights when he has a bad night, how does he respond? That's what we're asking. That's the question we're asking this season. How does he respond in situations?
Oh, I thought he showed a lot of mental toughness, because I think the young guys, it can be easy to be dragged down with performances and missing big moment shots and whatnot. I thought what he said in the post game yesterday was really good. You mentioned it, kind of owning the end of that game and them losing that. But I also loved watching what he was able to do tonight. Like, you have to remember, what he finished, 23 points or 20?
23.
23. He finishes 23 points. You could easily say, well, I mean, it's Sprague, it's 23 points. I get it. I totally understand that. But if you look at the context of how the game unfolded, he had CJ not sharing the ball. He had Norman Powell looking to make up for the shots he didn't get in that last game. Like, you kind of fall under in the pecking order of things when you shouldn't, but he ends up doing that. So to still get 23 and not even like, kind of an even 23. It's like the first half, it was just largely kind of quiet. And then the second half, he gave it to him when they needed it. And just unfortunate for him, it's a bad matchup, so you're getting your ass kicked. But I just think that's part of the growth we continue to highlight, is how Anfernee Simons, Nas, when he can play and he's not injured, how do you respond to those bad moments? And I thought what I saw tonight was a dude that looked pretty confident in the way Dallas was defending him. And I thought he created a decent amount of looks for guys, and some of those just didn't go down. So, 23 and what he finished with 6 assists? 7 assists. He could have had 9. 23 and 9 would have been an amazing number. 23 and 7 is still a really good number for a 22-year-old.
He came in to the Minnesota game 25 and 7.
Yes.
Obviously, that falls off a little bit. It's closer to 23 and 7, but follows it up with 23 and 7 tonight.
Right at his average, yeah.
23 and 7 is a good number, ladies and gentlemen. That's
higher than I thought he'd be.
Listen, 23 and 7 on 9 of 14 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 2 rebounds, 3 turnovers is a little much from what I want to see. The one pushback is 1 of 1 at the free throw line, as Norman Powell made 12 trips to the free throw line.
Yeah.
Tonight, Ant did a much better job on twos. He took and made only 2. What was he? 2 of 9, I think, against Minnesota. Tonight, again, 4 of 7 from 3, 9 of 14 from the field. So that means, let's do some math, 5 of 7 from 2-point range.
Mm-hmm.
That's a much, much better night. Again, there was the one where he got tied up by Brunson, where I thought he could have gotten free throws there if he had been a little bit more aggressive with the move. But overall, I thought it was a great night. Let's talk about another good night. Yusuf Nurkic had an okay night. 18, 6 and 3, 7-11. Efficiency was much better. Defensively, I didn't think the impact was there, just because he was pulled away from the rim so much by KP. I mean,
that's a tough matchup, because KP stretches him out. He caught him a couple times, that up fake, put the ball on the floor, took him to the cup. You're talking about a 7'3" guy against Nurkic, and yes, Nurkic outweighs him, but when you're as skilled as KP, I think you can have those moments. The defensive thing, like, I'm not going to really go in on the defensive stuff. Again, they legitimately had dudes out there not putting in effort defensively. Nurkic can be a good defender. We know this. You're not going to put effort in. You're just making life miserable for everybody else. And Nurkic is no different from that. So not his best game, but a solid game for what Yusuf Nurkic tends to give us. And yes, defensively wasn't perfect, but again, he had quite a few possessions where it felt like a certain player's guy was getting right past him, leading for a little help, which led to, again, what did we just talk about? Lob passes.
Let's get to the certain player's guy.
Okay, let's do it.
CJ
Mr. Flagrant Foul.
CJ McCollum finished with 8 of 16, 4 of 10 from 3.
Yep.
20 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. Pretty sterling box score.
Yeah.
Twitter,
but I think it's misconceiving.
Twitter and the watch party chat and my comments, I think would. This was a night where CJ was making shots and it was covering up for sins, as opposed to, I thought on the road trip it looked like each game he played, like he started to understand a little bit of the differences. And tonight, he reverted a little bit back to it's CJ time.
Yes.
Norm went from like trying to fit into like the idea of, I don't know I'm going to get this thing back, so I'm going to yank this thing out. Like, I'm going to pull it up, and that's why you see him jacking up shots. And I thought it was
selfish. It was selfish basketball. Like, you've taken the flow out from your team. If all you're caring about is, am I going to get another shot? I got to get my shot now. I have the ball. If that's a priority for you in the game, and when you're this kind of team, that's a huge red flag to me. And I'm not singling out just Norm. Like, number 3 is 10 years into this thing, fringe all-star player. Some people in the city still don't want to trade him. And you're still operating under the assumption that, like, you should be getting all these shots. And I guess I can't really blame him that much either, because he's also probably going to get traded.
He's a short timer, and he knows.
So it's like, why not get as many buckets here in Portland as I can? But still, like, when you're watching it, you can just feel how off
angsty
the rhythm gets.
Yeah, and I say CJ was hitting shots tonight. Not to say he had a good game. Like, he was in his bag. He was scoring on 1, 2, 3 guys at a time. But here's the problem. He didn't need to. Like, he didn't need to do that. He's got other guys around him, and they weren't winning this game. If I told you that Portland shot 51-37, do you think they lose a game by 20? The offense wasn't the issue.
Nope.
CJ being deep in his bag and just dancing, trying to get, like, there were times tonight where, multiple times tonight, at least 3 or 4, when I just went, no, and hit the shot, and it wasn't, oh, okay, fine, yes. It was, I don't care. That's bad basketball.
Right.
Like, the process more than anything right now means more than the results, particularly for a guy that is going to be gone. Let's just say it flat out. CJ's not going to be on this team next season. So I'm just out of sight, out of mind. And when I see that he's just consistently breaking that process, it's very frustrating. Particularly when you've got other guys that, even maybe short timers that have bought in. Like, I think Cove, before he kind of took these knocks the other day, was starting to kind of buy into things a little bit more. I think Nurk was trying to buy into things a little bit more. Not perfect by any means, but I think that's been the case.
Well, I mean, part of that, Danny, though, is we've seen them buy in because we've seen them play better. Mm-hmm. And I know CJ was out for quite some time, and he's still relatively, new and back, but we talked about this several times, man. When you don't have Dame and CJ out there, it's not to suggest either one aren't great. It's not to suggest they're better off without them. They're not. That would be foolish. But I think when you're out that long and you're a kind of player that gets a lot of shots, those shots were available for a lot of guys, and they started to get those looks and started to get those shots. They started feeling better about themselves in their current situation. You get better effort. You get a little better communication. Like, again, this is what I'm talking about. His offense was fine tonight. Wasn't spectacular, wasn't bad. But defensively is where I think they get hurt, because you're watching a guy take shots away from other players, and then on the other end be like, can I get a little help? And that's, however you feel about any of these dudes, like, that's gotta suck. That can't feel great to have that. Yes, it wears on you. Absolutely.
So I don't want to belabor this point, because it seems like we have to do this every game since he's come back, save 2. And it's frustrating. And I don't want to get stuck on that, because there was some okay stuff to talk about tonight, and I want to make sure I give the guys some love. Trendon Watford, CJ Elleby, Ben McLemore. McLemore was a -17 tonight. Watford was a -14, but I just don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Because I liked what I saw from Watford more often than not. Finished with 8, 5, and 2. Got out on the break, really pushed the pace, made really good decisions in the short roll, tried to play big. Like, he's playing small ball 5. Which he's too short to be playing right now for him to, number one, he's not that great of a vertical athlete but more than that, he's not that big. And I'm not talking about height. Like, you can play small ball center if you're a tank. Like, you can just eat guys up because they don't want to deal with you.
Right.
Nobody wants to run into Reggie Evans in the paint. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Reggie Evans, that's a throwback name right there.
You remember?
All-time Sonic great.
Just a truck of a human being.
Just built.
Ground bound as could be. Kendrick Perkins. Ground bound as could be. Not
with
stat
two
fillers.
C's, man.
But you know what they did? They ate up a truckload of space, and they could knock people around. They didn't have all of the verticality and the explosiveness and height and size. If Watford gets a grown-ass man's body where he can just kind of – he doesn't have to get that much bigger, but just get strong with a K, strong. Just get that country strength where you can knock dudes around, then I think he could do that. But he's just not there yet.
Yeah.
But with the stuff that he can do, his IQ and his feel for the game is very good. But you saw tonight for both him and CJ Elleby, a little bit of skill catching up to it. Mm-hmm. CJ Elleby had a three where I was like, no. Oh, that's a good look. That's good. Okay, that's a good look. You're shooting relatively well. Go ahead and keep taking that. Yeah. He caught it in the exact same spot. Defense, like 3 possessions later, gave him that lefty fake, 1 dribble pull up, gets to the paint, kick out, wide open 3. Didn't go down, but process. I'm like, that's process. That's making the right decisions. And you're seeing both those guys, and then Elleby, give him his props. What a chase down block. Sprints down the court. Ant bodies him up. Elleby, 2-footed, straight up, boom. 2-hand swat. Didn't give up on the play. And that's what I think you're getting from both of those guys, is that you're getting the effort, but more than that, you're getting the skill catching up to the effort. Because there's plenty of guys in the league who have effort, but you have to have the skill and the ability to kind of follow up behind it. That's ultimately where it ends up going.
Well, I think if you were to ask Blazer fan what they liked about tonight, CJ Elleby for sure would be one of them.
Yeah. Which is both good and bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's not ideal. I think if you would ask people that in September, they would have said, "You're an idiot. What are you talking about?" But I think it just goes to what you're saying. When you go out there and you're running around and you're helping on defense, but you're also sticking with your guy and you're actively attacking the glass to get rebounds, and then, on the other end of the court, you're not really demanding much. You're standing in a corner, but you're kind of still moving. You do those kinds of things, man, and it's not a coincidence that a lot of people notice it. Doesn't matter what the stat sheet says. People are watching this game with their eyes. They can see that CJ Elleby is putting forth a better effort than some other guys on this team in a night in, night out basis. So
particularly with the same first name.
Well, yeah, but like to see fans kind of give him a little love, Elleby, it's great. It's fantastic. It doesn't mean he's a championship piece. It just he's
a back end of the rotation guy. Like, I'm not even sure he's a full-time NBA guy yet, but like.
But this season means a lot to players like CJ Elleby.
100%.
We talk about tanking and losing and assets and trades. CJ Elleby's out here like, this is my livelihood. I gotta put up a performance.
They had to perform now to get another contract.
Yes.
So like those are the kind of things that outside of Ant and Nods, like you're just kind of looking forward to. I'm not saying that Trendon Watford and CJ Elleby are going to be rotation level players, but like, are they viable NBA players that you have control over contractually for a couple years? Like, so when somebody goes down with an injury, inevitably it happens, you have a guy that you can throw out there and not go, shit. Like that is the difference typically 2 or 3 games between seeds. Yeah. And if you've got that in a season, that's a good thing to have to fall back on. I don't know why I even talked about playoff there, but just in general, that's kind of like the theory behind it. Okay, so they go 0-2 at home, quick little back-to-back homestand. They get 1 day off, and then they go back out on the road to North Break. It is a weird trip. They're going to Texas, but playing only one team in Texas.
Yeah, and then go Chicago.
So Houston, Chicago, OKC, LA.
Mm-hmm.
They should probably go 2-2 on this trip.
I mean, I don't think we should be placing what they should or should not be doing, right? We thought they might go 1-5, 2-4. They went 4-2.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here.
Do they deserve that? I mean,
sure,
I know
the Rockets and the Thunder. The Rockets and Thunder.
Yeah. If you told me they lost to the Rockets, I wouldn't be shocked. There's no Dame. Like, you got to remember, Houston's one of those cities, man.
It is one of those cities.
You can take an Uber to the wrong place and be out way too late and then be like, oh, yeah, I'm playing a basketball game tomorrow. And then feel like absolute dog crap. Be like, why can't I have my Michael Jordan flu game? They probably will have a nice road trip. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if I'm probably split on either agreeing with you or not agreeing with you. So I don't really put expectation on wins and losses for this team anymore. I hope they lose just in the sense of collecting ping pong balls. But if they go 4-2 or whatever it may be, I'm not going to be surprised.
Okay, so technically, not that I'm counting or anything like that, I have 3 weeks until my surgery. The surgery is the 16th, right?
Uh-huh.
Trade deadline is 6 days before that, which means starting tomorrow, we are officially 2 weeks away from the NBA trade deadline. Oh boy. Everybody keeps talking about trades. So we'll address it here real quick, and I think this will be kind of a nightly situation. To reiterate for anybody that wasn't here for the pregame show or the postgame show last night, I was talking about C.J. McCollum and Norman Powell both being available. From what I have heard, C.J. McCollum is actively being shopped. Norman Powell is willing and open to being dealt. I say that kindly. Covington and Nurkic are both heavily being shopped. And as far as I can tell, the Blazers are not actively tanking, nor are they actively pursuing a play-in spot, which is, to me, a cowardly way of saying we're not going to commit to anything. But what are you going to do?
I mean, what can you do? You could actually voice your frustration. You could stop watching and supporting the team. I wouldn't advise that, but that's basically all it boils down to for fans. Like, how much are you willing to tolerate? And if the organization's going to sit here and shrug their shoulders and say, we prefer the play-in than the losing. Okay. First of all, have fun staying in the play-in, because I'm not sure you will. 2, that's just malpractice. And you're telling me what's really important to you versus what's most important for the franchise. Yeah. So
I am not going to tell anybody how to fan. But I will say that do not come to me or the show or the mailbag with questions of why aren't they good enough if you're somebody who isn't willing to give value to get value. That is how it actually works. I threw up a trade for Robert Covington today that was basically Cedi Osman and Ed Davis for Cov. And the reason I did that is because somebody I know who is very in tune with the Cavs said that would probably be the offer. There would probably be some second-round picks in there. But as I've gone around the league, that's kind of what the offer is. As it sits right now, I do not believe Cov is going to fetch a first-round pick. Now, they might get a first-round pick that is heavily protected.
Top 24 protected.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Which will then turn into 2 seconds.
Yes.
That's closer to what it ends up being. So,
yeah, but in Portland, with every player that comes through here, a lot of the fans, not all, but a decent percentage of these fans end up falling in love with most of these players. I mean, there's no other way around.
Who was the last drafted player that the Blazers hated, or Blazers fan base hated?
I mean, I wouldn't say hated personally. I wouldn't say, but Myers or Zach.
You know what's funny is that there's still fans of both guys.
Well, I mean, I don't mean hated. Well, some people might still hate Myers, but I'm talking about just basketball stuff. Mm-hmm. And some of that, like, I don't think anybody begrudged Zach. He just couldn't stay healthy. Yeah. His body wouldn't hold up. But I think people strongly dislike that pick when you compare it to the other picks in that draft. Almost all of them that had value being picked behind where you traded to get.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But, I mean, other than that...
Who are you going to go with?
That's just kind of the way that I think Blazers fans go. You like your guys.
Well, who would you say that they last didn't like?
probably Zach, but
Yeah.
again,
And that was more injuries. It wasn't him.
Yeah,
It was
even
just, like,
Myers,
the
like-
injuries.
even then, I'm trying to think, like, the fan base has pretty much loved everybody. That's the thing.
I mean, they support almost everybody.
Yes. Raymond Felton is the only player, like, in team history has never been, like, actually supported who didn't commit a crime, and then obviously the Ruben Pattersons of the world for various, very, very obvious reasons.
Well, they don't forget, Ruben Patterson probably hated. Bonzi Wells was booed at home.
Mhm.
Like, this fan base is very accepting, very loyal if you don that jersey, but they also recognize character issues. They recognize injury problems. These are things that these fans, I think far more than a lot of other fans in the league, they notice and they hold on to. And it kind of goes into just how they're feeling about every player every year. And some years it's Zach Collins, some years it's Myers Leonard. Maybe it's CJ now. I don't know where it is for the fans. Most of them love all of these players, but from time to time things happen and it's kind of like, damn, this guy has to go.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where we're at with a couple guys right now. Somebody asked who I think gets traded first, and it was obviously the four guys we keep hearing between Covington, Nurk, CJ, and Norm. Who do you think in that group is the first one to go?
Oh, it's reeking like Cove. Now, we had 2 or 3 straight days where you've had people leaking what teams are interested in, right? It was Utah just to stand alone. Utah's interested in Robert Covington. Then today, it was Cleveland, it was LA, blank in the third, but like you had 3 or 4 teams that were interested at least publicly from a reporting standpoint. I think it's Cove.
I want to say that that's true, but at the same time, part of me is feeling a little spicy. And to maybe, I don't want to use the M word. Mutiny. I wonder if it's CJ first.
The problem is, yeah, I mean, you might be right.
I've heard from more than a few people that guys aren't happy.
Well, I mean, we don't even need to hear from anybody. We can watch these games.
You can watch the game and see it. And I mean, I talked about it in the beginning of the season when I said the vibes. Like I danced around it for the first 2 months of the season, but yeah, it's pretty evident. And I almost wonder if I don't think they'll do that. And I think there's a very personal reason behind it, and that's the birth of his kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they're just gonna do that unless it got sideways. And I don't think CJ's that guy. I think he can basically hold his shit together for 2 weeks. But it's a weird place. And here's the thing. When it comes to dealing CJ, the one team that I know that has shown legitimate real interest, and I know just about what the package is New Orleans. I have not heard any other team as far as like what offer would be out there. Mm-hmm. There are teams, but I think the price would have to be lower than what is possibly on offer to make that happen. So we'll see. You could get a dark horse and it'd be Norm just to kind of clear the deck a little bit. But, I will say that it is very convenient that CJ McCollum to New Orleans for Hart, Hayes, Satoransky, and 2 first-round picks just so happens to clear $3.5 million off the books.
Oh, hello.
Just so happens.
Now you're speaking Jody Allen's language. That's her love language, man. You better be careful.
I'm just saying, it just so happens that exact trade would get them under the luxury tax line. Just throwing that little bit out there. So, and for those wondering, yes, somebody I think Nibble was highlighting it. This the Norman Powell minutes restriction less than 24 hours ago was suddenly pulled away.
And if Nas goes in the next game, his minute restrictions is back.
And is he back on the bench?
Well, yeah, or does he fly home? I'm just kidding.
I'm just. It's.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's the meme, man. It's like, hey, listen, I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to go handle this shit. I'm just saying, it doesn't look great. But you know what does look great, Brandon? A live watch party.
Yes, it does.
So if you want to enjoy the live watch parties, become a member of the Jacked Ramsays community. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Find us wherever you get podcasts. If you're watching here live, thank you all. We appreciate you very, very, very much. Please click the subscribe button. Get us up to 2,500 subs this season. Our goal is to get at least 3,000 by the end of the year, which really we should hit. Like at the rate of growth we have had this season, we should hit 3,000 by the end of the season. I kind of wanted it to be 4,000 for a goal, just to kind of have something to really shoot for,
Okay.
But I'm just saying.
Well, all the support and the subscriptions, the community, the thoughts, the tweets, like for real, all of that it's mind blowing because the season sucks. There's no other way around it, and
it's so much more enjoyable this way.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody, for the support we've had, and hopefully we can hit that goal.
We will have the live show tomorrow. It'll be our weekly catch-up. So what time do you want to go tomorrow, Brandon? 5? 6?
I have to go at 5. I got basketball.
Oh,
Coach Sprague
is putting – do you have your own whistle?
No.
We covered this. Can you whistle?
I told you I'm not a coach. I'm like an assistant. Like I'm like, hey – Brandon, can you give us some balls? Sure.
Brandon Brooks over here.
One of the greatest high school players in Portland history.
There you go. But we will go tomorrow at 5. So if you want to come hang out, we usually run 45 to an hour in those. Who am I kidding? We usually run longer than that, but we have to get Brandon out on a hard out because he's got to take the kiddies to basketball practice. So appreciate you. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful night. Take care. Talk soon. You can find us on social media at Jacked Ramsays, at Danny Meringue, at Brandon Sprague. Email us. JackedRamsays@gmail.com. Until then, take care. Have a wonderful night. Talk soon. Bye.